It's time to accelerate. Hey friends, this is Andy. Welcome to episode 644 of Accelerate, the sales podcast of record. And since it's Friday, it's time for another episode of Frontline Friday with my very special co-host, Bridget Gleason. Now today, Bridget and I are going to talk about values, personal values. The personal values that the great sales professionals possess that enable them to connect and engage and inspire another human being. And like I did last week, I'm unveiling a new acronym to help you remember these core values. Remember last week it was GEAR, as in to gear up your sales mindset. Well, this week it's HERO, H-E-R-O, as in be a sales hero. So if you want to find out what the H and the E and the R and the O stand for, then make sure you stick around. Bridget and I are going to dive into these just for you. If you'd like to see the show notes for this episode, go to andypaul.com/644. As always, we provide a breakdown of this and all conversations you hear on Accelerate. Now, I've been mentoring and training sales professionals for years, and as I've said, one of the most important elements, I believe, to career success is making sure you align yourself with a company that values their customers and has a portfolio of products that can compete with anyone. And that's why if you're a top performer in your current role, you're looking for a fresh challenge to take your career to the next level, then CenturyLink should be at the top of your list, because with its recent acquisition of Level 3, the new CenturyLink is truly a world leader in providing cloud, security, real-time communications, hybrid IT, and managed services. So if you want the excitement, challenge, and rewards that come from selling industry-leading services to the enterprise, then visit CenturyLink.com/accelerate. That's CenturyLink.com/accelerate, and see if a career at CenturyLink is the right step for you. Okay, let's get going with Frontline Friday. Hello, welcome to Frontline Fridays. As always, I'm joined by my special friend and co-host, Bridget Gleason. Bridget, how fantastic are you today?
Super fantastic.
Super fantastic. Okay.
Super fantastic. All good.
All right. Somebody count. Somebody out there on. See how many times we say fantastic during the course of this interview. Okay, so today, last time we talked about mindset. So today I want to talk about values. I've got another acronym I want people to learn, and full of acronyms. So, and they're easy devices for people to remember things and memorize things. So Daniel Kahneman in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, talked about the research that showed how acronyms are so important in that regard. So here's an acronym, because we're going to talk about values in sales. About like companies talk about their sales values. They end up really starting about a mission statement. And yeah, that's great. I think that's important to have, is you have a mission statement. You can call them your values. Reducing them to an acronym, I think, is a great tool. Eli Cohen in his book Saleshood talks about that. It's a great thing to do. But here we're talking more about personal values, because I believe that. Excuse me. I had somebody on the show recently, author named a venture investor from Boston, also an author. Tony Chan wrote a book called Good People. It's talking about, the most important hiring decision you can make is to hire good people, not necessarily the most skilled people, most experienced people, and so on. And excellent book. I recommend people read it or listen to the interview I did with Tony, and then go buy the book. But it got me to think about, we're talking about values. When we talk about good people, we're talking about, people reflecting the values and the character that they were raised with. And so I started thinking, okay, from a sales perspective, what do I believe are the core values that salespeople need to have? And this is not meant to be comprehensive, but to me, it's sort of 4 core values. And so I reduced it to an acronym. I have an expression I use called be a hero, and these are what I call hero values for sales, HERO. And the H sort of aligns with what we talked about previous episode about the giving mindset, but slightly different. H is for you need to be helpful, right? You need the value of being helpful to people, because that is our job as salespeople. The E is be empathetic, The R is to be responsive, and the O is to be open-minded. And I thought we'd go through those quickly here when we have the chance here on the show. So, being helpful, as I mentioned last week in last week's episode, I think sales is first and foremost a service profession. But I think it's really important for us when we say we want to be helpful is to really understand what our job is. And I think too often in sales, we think our job is to get an order. And I think the job of a salesperson is to help the buyer quickly gather the information they need to make a good decision with the least investment of their time and resources possible. That's what they want to do. That's what they're trying. That's why they're in their buying process. That's what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, they're trying to get something obviously going to have an ROI and a value for the investment. But the process of buying is there's been research on this, is just like buyers view the ability to make good decisions quickly a strategic competitive advantage in their business. So our job in sales is to help them achieve that. So go ahead.
Yeah, I like that. I was thinking about you saying that our job is to help them. It's a strategic advantage for them to be able to do that as quickly as possible.
Right.
And so it's recognizing this scarce commodity called time and just helping them move through it efficiently, effectively, and as we talked about in a previous episode, to have fun. To have fun, make it enjoyable, make it pleasant. Don't make it painful. Don't make it quick and painless. Painful.
Service with a smile.
Service with a smile. And have some fun.
Well, and I believe that though. I mean, I think you're absolutely right on. Is this? I think that was the motto for a gas station. I think for when I was a kid. I think one of the old time oil companies that no longer exists. Yeah, that was their TV commercials always. Service with a smile. But it is. I mean, if you can have fun with it as you're helping people. You'd mentioned that when we talked about fun a couple episodes ago. It is contagious. It is part of the personality that you're starting to inspire, this connection with the prospect. Absolutely. Okay, so E. Either empathy or be empathetic.
Yeah, empathetic.
Or empathic, as some people say. But apparently there's reasons to say one or the other, and I don't know what they are. But I'll say empathetic. And this one I think is really interesting because, as we've become more, I don't say automated, but as we go through on our marketing side, we've developed our ideal customer profiles. We've developed personas around the various points of contact or stakeholders we're going to have in the decision. Is that I've seen where salespeople sort of get confused. They think that they have empathy for the person just because they understand the persona. And as I like to say, we sell to people, not personas. Mm-hmm. And we have to go out and engage with people and listen to them to really develop empathy for them. It's not enough just to read a profile about them and say, I can empathize with that. You have to go out and you have to engage and talk to them and listen to what they say to really demonstrate to them that you have empathy. Right.
Yeah, it's, I don't have much to add. On that one. I think that's, if you can't, you have to be able to uncover, obviously, what's going on with them. And the best way to do that is empathizing and really trying to step into their shoes and what that looks like and feels like.
Well, I think one of the keys for people to take away on this is, and I forget where I heard this phrase, and I loved it, so I've appropriated it as my own, is that you have to learn how to listen slowly as a key to developing empathy, is that we have this built-in thing in our human nature with our confirmation bias to believe we know what people are sort of telling us before they tell it to us, right? Or to take an answer and shape it to conform to our view of the world. And so we're sort of assuming to some degree, or thinking ahead, we know what the custom buyer's answer is going to be. And your point is, if we really want to understand what's going on with them, is we have to do the same as what I call listen slowly, which is we're not thinking ahead. We're actually listening and then pausing before we have any other thought. So we process it. And then, now I begin to understand exactly what you're talking about, Mr. Prospect or Ms. Prospect, because I'm not trying to fit your answer into a niche.
Right.
I'm actually listening to it.
I think that's hard for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
We're in sort of a time when we're bombarded with things, phones and text messages and social media, and we're just in an interrupt-driven society. It's really hard to just tune those out and be fully present.
Right. That's what I think. Absolutely. So that's why I think this pause is really important. I mean, if you add a second, right, from the time the customer finishes their answer to your question, pause for a second before you start thinking about what you're going to ask them next.
Yeah.
And that starts building in a little bit of a buffer for you, because a lot can happen. We think very quickly. A lot can happen in a second. But also it stops us from just defaulting immediately and jumping to that next scripted question.
Right.
Gives us a chance to connect. So think about this idea of listening slowly.
I love that.
So the R is for responsive, being responsive. And as you know, responsiveness is huge with me. And that's funny. There's some pushback I've read recently from some quote unquote sales experts saying that, buyers don't want fast answers. They discount those because they think you haven't thought about it. And quite honestly, I think that's just flat out wrong. And so I've never had a customer.
What was it? They say they don't like fast answers?
Yeah, because they think you hadn't thought about it. You just responded. And there's sort of this mythology that it's like the same people that say, well, if you give a proposal to a customer today, you can't call them up tomorrow and ask, follow up on it, because they'll think that you hadn't, given enough time for them to consider, or you hadn't thought about, or maybe different. You maybe had done discovery and, you got back to them too quickly with, answers to questions you uncovered discovery. I don't know. I just like sort of have to tune that part out. It's people don't have in their minds, specific intervals. They're saying, well, you answered that too quickly, therefore you must not have thought about it. If you're giving people well-reasoned, specific answers to questions they have that provide value to them and help them understand the challenges they face more completely, or the decision they have to make, they want them faster. They're trying to make good decisions quickly.
Right.
So the thing about being responsive is that this is something you have complete and absolute control over as a salesperson. I mean, if you're selling a complex product, maybe you don't have all the right answers right at your fingertips, but we talked, I think an episode or so ago about, as part of being entrepreneurial, as part of the entrepreneurial mindset required in sales, that you need to, if you don't have all the resources given to you, you have to go develop those resources within your company. This is when this becomes really important. Building those networks internally so that people will support you and help you when you have questions that need to be answered for customers. If you haven't made that investment internally, then you're restricting your ability to be responsive. So I never wanted to be in that situation. I always proactively went out and developed those networked internally, so that if I needed a quick turnaround on something that I didn't know the answer to, I stood a good chance of getting it quickly.
Yeah, I always remember, Andy, you and I met. I was introduced to you because of your first book, Zero Time Selling.
I remember the moment.
When it was, gosh, I think my CEO, maybe was he,
yes.
Did he have an early copy of it?
Yeah, he had written a blurb for it. Yes.
And he wrote a blurb for it. And that's always stuck with me. Just the importance of this responsiveness and how important that is in sales, and what a big difference it makes. And I think it's timeless. I want quick responses. I don't think the other person isn't doing their job. I want quick responses, and I don't think our prospects are any different.
Well, and I think that part of I read this one article within the last year about why quote unquote responsiveness was wrong, because salespeople if they're trying to be responsive, they're going to grab for the quick answer rather than the right answer. And yeah, there may be some who do that, but I actually have more faith in salespeople, I guess, than most people, that they understand what the customer is really looking for. And if they've done a good job, they're going to make sure they get them the right answer, because if they get them the wrong answer, then, or the incomplete answer, or the expedient answer, then they know that they're not, they're going to go backwards with the customer, not move forwards. So, if you're listening and you hear people sort of push back, say responsiveness is not important, they're just flat out wrong. And I could show you millions upon millions of dollars worth of orders that I won as a basis.
100%
being responsive.
Right. Responsive. Boy, does that make a big difference.
Yeah. Why my competitors were still sitting on their hands. I was winning the business. All right. So the last one, is being open-minded. And it sort of ties a little bit to what we were talking about before, is you just can't assume anything, right? This whole idea with the personas, we assume we know exactly, in the scripts, we know exactly what the customer's answer is, therefore we ask this question. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with scripts per se, but you got to know that when you ask a certain question to a customer, it's not going to be the same answer every time. You can't put it into that box. You need to be open-minded, hear what they're really saying, listen slowly, as we talked before, and treat every customer situation as being unique as it is. Then you're going to hear more clearly what their challenges are, what their objectives are, how you can help them succeed and increase your odds of winning the business.
And I think, Andy, open-minded is hard. We like to think we're open-minded. I like to think I'm open-minded. But in reality,
it's hard.
It's hard. It takes a lot of deliberate determination.
Well, the key word is deliberate.
Yeah, you have to know, because I know my go-to place is not to be open. My go-to place is that my ideas are right. I think, and I don't think I'm that different than others.
Absolutely.
So I think to be very deliberate about trying to see another viewpoint, you have to be deliberate. It just takes some vigilance.
Exactly. You couldn't have said it better. And I spoke about this in the start of my second book, Amp Up Your Sales, not commercial time for my books, so you're welcome to buy them, is that...
That was a good one too.
Yeah, is that selling is a deliberate act.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is such an important thing for people to keep in mind. It's not something you go through, paint by numbers. No, this is a deliberate act. And so every motion, every thought, every sales motion, every thought, every element of your playbook, it may be laid out, but you're taking a deliberate act. And so you have to be very thoughtful. About why you're doing it, why you're taking it. And yes, we get pressured by time, we get in a hurry, but nonetheless, the more deliberate you can be about it, again, the more positive outcomes you're going to get from your sales, because your competitors aren't being that way.
That's right.
I mean, so much of what we talked about here today and in previous episodes and general in the show is, we want you to be the best you can be, because, it gives you a competitive advantage, because oftentimes your competitors are not.
And in sales, you don't always have to be the best. You just have to be better, just better than the others.
That's right.
So take every competitive advantage you can get.
Well, and that is absolutely true, because again, I mentioned my buddy Herbert Simon, researcher, Nobel Prize winner back in the 50s, 60s, early 70s, who found that people are, by and large, are looking to make good enough decisions, not the best decisions. And if you can stand out in helping the customer get to the point where they said, this is good enough for us, this will work, this will help us achieve what we need to achieve, you'll be the one that wins.
You'll be the one. That's right. That's all you need.
All right. So be a hero. Helpful.
Be a hero.
Empathetic.
I like it.
Responsive. Open-minded. There's your sales values for you. Bridget.
Andy.
It's been fun, as always.
As always, until next time.
Until next time. And friends, next Friday, that will be. for those of you keeping track. So, friends, thank you for spending this time with us again, and we'll look forward to being with you next week.
Talk then.